it and put all those things in the bill that they will bring. Because to say we intend to is a wish proposition. There is no assurance that it will be done. Mr. Speaker, 90% of Kenyans have rejected this bill. 90%. And the majority of all those who submitted their memos have also rejected this bill. Mr. Speaker, it's for a very simple reason. And the reason is this. Excessive
Mr. Speaker, I stand on, we have a responsibility to, wait, calm down. I stand on standing order number 95A, and I want to know whether Honorable Otiende Omolo, with all due respect, when he says and stands on national TV, here in Parliament, where we are broadcasting live, and says that 90% of Kenyans are opposed to this bill, what statistics has he laid on this table to say that he has done a research and found out that 90%, because, 90%, Mr. Speaker, is mathematics. These are numbers, and numbers do not lie. You must be responsible of the statement that you place on this table. So, Mr. Speaker, please, let him substantiate where he has gotten the figures of 90% from.
Proceed, Otiende Omolo.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that objection is symptomatic to the problem this side is having. They don't listen to the radio stations, they don't read the printed media, they don't watch TV stations. If they did, they would not ask that question. Let me continue, Mr. Speaker.
Otiende Omolo,
Mr. Speaker.
Otiende Omolo, you are normally more balanced than that. Kagombe cannot be the side. He's an individual.
Speaker, I'll proceed. Yes. Mr. Speaker, the point I'm making is that excessive and generalized overtaxation of Kenyans will only further burden Kenyans who are already suffering. The cost of living is so high, and therefore it's a lie to say that you want this budget to pass in order to alleviate the suffering of Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, I wish to submit that there are only three answers to the problems we have right now. One, austerity measures. Two, reduction of corruption. And three, rationalization of government. Mr. Speaker, I do not understand how a government that says that already there's a problem insists on increasing the overall budget from 3.3 trillion, which it was in the previous year, to 3.67 trillion, if you admit there's no money. What is the principle? If you have no money, you cut your coat according to size. So you don't say that you must increase it and therefore you must overtax. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, how does a government that says we are short of money explain why you must create offices that we do not need? You do not need the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. You do not need all the 24 cabinet offices. The Constitution allows you a minimum of 14. You do not need over 51 principal secretaries. You do not need over 50 CSs. And all these are taking public money. If you say, and it is unfortunate that a member of parliament should seek to mislead the public by saying that members of parliament already get money for houses, that is not true, because it is a loan that we pay at 3%. But if that is your position, then take away that free house, because we don't have it. Don't tax Kenyans on it. Mr. Speaker, corruption, corruption, corruption. In all these words, the word anti-corruption you will never hear from the words of those who speak for the government side. In fact, you only see the demonstration of those who are facing corruption charges being withdrawn. It is on record from the previous president that we lose 2 billion shillings every day to corruption. If we could even just reduce that to 1 billion, we would fix the gap that they are talking about in government. Then there's rationalization, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you are aware, and this House has debated, in the previous parliament, there was a report that suggested that we do not need the over 530 ministries and departments of government that we have, the parastotals. Most of them are duplicative. And it was suggested that we should reduce them to barely 50. Instead of reducing them, we have a situation where we are sustaining even those which were moribund, those which were not working. We are giving opportunity to others to earn a living. Mr. Speaker, as I finish, Mr. Speaker, My 2 minutes were taken. Can I get my 2 minutes back, please? My 2 minutes. Yes. Mr. Speaker, 2 closing remarks. You must listen to us, because even if you use the majority to pass this, there's still the courts. And even if you deal with the courts, there's still the people who are sovereign. 2 things. 1, you cannot have a situation where you are bringing the housing tax here. I want to invite you to note, first of all, that under Schedule 6, the role of housing is for the counties, it's not for the national government. And I invite you to look at Clause 8D. The national government is only to do the housing policy. So when you are bringing the question of housing and you're introducing the tax, you're actually amending the Constitution through the back door. And it also means then that this bill should go to the Senate, because the Senate must have a role in anything that affects the counties. And that is a point that you need to bear in mind. Lastly, it is a matter of the Constitution that you cannot introduce servitude. By telling someone that they must pay tax, which will not benefit them and will go to the shareholders, as your leaders have told us, that is servitude. Servitude that we must reject, and we must reject this bill in totality. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Amolo. Members, before I give the next speaker, allow me to acknowledge the following institutions in the public and speakers gallery. Tender Care School, Embakasi East, Nairobi. Ontulilu Boys School, Buri, Meru. Moi Girls High School, Nairobi, Kibra. Sitam Schools, Makadara. Kongoi Secondary School, Kuresoi North, Nakuru. Mary Emase.
Thank you, Chair, for this opportunity to contribute to this motion on the finance bill. Honorable Speaker, this is a very important bill, and members, I want to urge that we debate soberly and objectively, devoid of any emotions. And secondly, Honorable Speaker, as we discuss the finance bill, we cannot discuss the finance bill in isolation. We need to look at the entire equation holistically. Look at the budget and look at the finance bill. And I'm happy that members agree that we must raise money to finance the budget. And that is what the finance bill is all about. It proposes measures to raise money to finance the budget. So when I listen to members say that this bill does not in any way improve or should be rejected, and I look at you and I wonder, did you listen to the discussion on the budget and where we are proposing to distribute this money to? So for me, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that we must make a decision. It is a hard decision, but this is our country. We live here, and we have to make it a better country. And therefore, we must make a decision. And the elephant in the house is the chairman of the budget has just reminded us on the figures, what our budget is. And we know how we borrowed heavily in the past, and that is what brings us to the state in which we are today. 60% of our revenue goes towards paying the loans that we owe. And therefore, we can decide to choose. We talk of subsidies to continue. We talk of less taxes. Yes, you can choose to go that direction. But the question you should ask yourself, for how long shall you be able to sustain the subsidies? And I hear people saying, when we reduce taxes and we continue to give subsidy, we attract more investment, and then the country is able to grow. I want to ask you, reducing taxes is just one of the factors, but there are so many other factors of production. You will need to provide accessibility, that's the road. You may need to provide electricity and many other factors. So it is not automatic by reducing taxes that we shall be able to spur growth and improve things. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say on this finance bill, as I support it, that I support the position by Kenya Kwanza, that we need to raise more taxes ourselves as a country and borrow less so that by doing that, we are able to actually allocate money to core sectors of the economy. In fact, the question we should be asking ourselves are questions on accountability, are questions on austerity measures, are questions on how do we fight corruption, so that together we're able to raise them. And that is why we saw in our budget that we are allocating money to go to the sectors like agriculture, so that we are able to increase production. And therefore, ultimately, the forces of demand and supply will help bring down the cost of goods and cost of living. We are putting money to sectors like digitization, industrialization, so that we're able to create employment opportunities for our children. So the finance bill in entirety is not a bad thing. And Mr. Speaker, I want to support this finance bill. And I've listened to members contributing. I was expecting members will say, I do not like this is not for Kenya, and this is what I'm proposing. I want to commend Honorable Masara. It's only Honorable Masara who has said, this is bad, I propose, probably we shouldn't have done A, B, and C. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee. It has not been easy. They have tried. And in particular, I see they have listened to Kenyans. They are proposing some reductions, like on the 3%. They're reducing it to 1.5. Probably the only thing I would want to request the chair as he replies to expound more on the difference between moving from mandatory contribution to a levy. And also, when you look at clause 76, that was clause 76. So when you look at clause 36, they have also proposed to remove the 20% mandatory deposit for those companies or individuals that were seeking who had issues with the tax payments or taxes that are being demanded. That was demanded that they needed to pay deposit in court. So,
thank you, Honorable Mary Mase. Member for Kaloleni. Kaloleni, Katana. Kahindi, Katana.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipatia muda huu. Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipatia muda huu niweze kuchangia kwa mswada huu wa kifedha wa mwaka 2023. Mimi napinga mswada huu kwa yale yafuatayo. Bwana Spika, gharama ya maisha imepanda kiwango kikubwa zaidi. Na gharama hizi hazijui ni nani yuko upinzani na ni nani yuko ndani ya serikali. Tabu hizi tunazipata sote kama Wakenya. Bwana Spika, ukiangalia